What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
I'm the Tommie.
And I'm Shredlord.
And we are back, finally, with a discography ranking. We wanted to get something extraordinarily heavy this time, so it was my pick, because I love death metal and all that shit. So we decided to do Bloodbath. So, Bloodbath is an awesome supergroup from Stockholm, Sweden, formed in 1998, formed with original members Michael Ackerfeldt of Opeth. We all are definitely familiar with him. Dan Swano of Edge of Sanity, and a litany of other projects, because that dude is busy as hell. Jonas Rensk, I believe that's how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
And Anders Nystrom, both from Catatonia. So these guys have a awesome pedigree of different styles of metal, but they wanted to get together and form a straight up old school death metal band, very much in the vein of bands like Entombed and Dismembered. So in 2000, they put out an EP, and it was Breeding Death. This one was produced by Dan Swano himself and just featured those members, the original members there. Michael Ackerfeldt only on vocals, surprisingly, too. And just 3 songs, and it was pretty ripping. I had this at number 5.
I also had this at number 5.
I'm a piece of shit and put this at number 7. Well, the reason for that being is, first of all, there's only 3 tracks. The discography isn't large to begin with, but when you're comparing full-length albums to 2-3 song EPs, not that it was terrible. The first song is badass, but the last 2 on the EP probably sounded like it could have been one big run-on song, so it wasn't as memorable to me as some of the rest of the ones we'll get into.
I had this album at number 2. I loved it. I liked it that it was a little shorter because it hit really hard for me, Thought it was produced really well. I thought it had really good song structure, really good death metal music.
Yeah.
There's some real thrashy elements to it. I liked the guitar tone on it. The end of Furnace Funeral was awesome. Super cool.
I love the song Ominous Blood Vomit, not only just because that is a killer fucking title for a song.
Too. What a good song.
Love it. I love the production was really raw in it, and for 3 songs, I thought they were all killer. It's just, I liked all of these albums, so ranking them was pretty difficult, and mostly just because it's only 3 songs, I had it a little bit lower.
Fun fact, these 2, unbeknownst to each other, made the same fucking list.
Yeah.
In the same fucking order, so.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure these 2 are the only 2 not high on Creeper right now. Just saying.
It was a good jam. Again, kind of short, only 3 songs, but they're all pretty killer songs. It's hard to even pick a favorite because there's only 3. It's just good, solid death metal.
So 2 years later, they get back together for an actual full length with 2002's Resurrection Through Carnage. Same lineup here, except we got a full-length album finally, and I had this one at number 4. I liked it. I don't know if I liked the production as much. I thought the production was extra gritty on this one.
I think they did that on purpose.
Oh yeah,
I liked the way the production was done because I think there was intent behind it.
That had quite possibly one of the nastiest Swedish death metal tones I've heard. Like the guitars crackle and hiss.
This was actually the first Bloodbath I ever heard.
Actually, yeah, it might be about the same for me.
I gotta say, this album was heavy as fuck. It really was. I mean, they all were, but this one especially, like...
Well, once again, this was Dan Swano doing it, too, and I think, to a degree, he did better on Breeding Death. I kind of liked how more analog it sounded, but this sounded really good for what they were going for. So You Die. Quite possibly my favorite track on this album.
Yes.
That and Bathe in Blood.
Yes.
Yep.
And Death Delirium.
So I was just going to say, don't forget Death Delirium now.
What a killer fucking song.
Let's not forget Death Delirium.
The ending of that song was...
That's an amazing song. Mike Ackerfeldt,
dude,
fucking slays.
Right.
Dude, some of the best death growls ever. So I had this album at number 4 on my list.
Number 2 for me.
I also had this album at number 4.
As Nick and I, as you heard, were exactly the same. Spoiler's also at number 4. So
it's a good album. It kind of just falls in the middle for me. again, I liked all these albums, so this was really difficult to rank, but as far as the intensity in songs, I think some of the later albums were even nastier, but this album is absolutely killer, and if you love death metal, chances are you've already heard this album, but if you haven't, listen to it, because it's fucking great. So, 2 years later, we have a lineup change. We introduced Martin Axelrod on drums, and Dan Swano switched over to guitars. Now, unfortunately, Michael Ackerfeld was not available to this because his commitments are definitely towards Opeth. So in steps Peter Tägtgren of Hypocrisy fame, solid sub. Guy has great vocals, and he is now their frontman, and we get Nightmares Made Flesh. I had this one at number 2. This album is fucking fantastic.
I also had this at number 2, and I also agree this album's pretty fantastic. In fact, it was at one time my number 1 on the list, but it made it to number 2. Songs like Soul Evisceration, Outnumbering the Day, my favorite, Eaten. I love that.
A lot of
song.
yeah, dude. That's
just a heavy stomp, meat and potatoes, just all around. Awesome
Year
death
of the
metal
Cadaver
song.
Race.
Yep,
I love
that
that
one.
song.
Yep.
That straight up D beat.
Brave New Hell for me. That's a favorite.
I had this album at number 1.
Same.
You know, this album, it just felt really well written. I wanted more.
I'll say that the production was definitely different.
Yes.
On this album than it was on the previous album. Not that I minded it, but I think I feel like they got a little bit of backlash for it.
It was different than anything. All right.
It was more high quality.
Yeah.
It was
It
more,
lost
more
the, it
processed.
lost the grit.
Yeah.
Some of the grit was gone, but
it
it
was
was
so heavy.
it was heavy as fuck. It was just a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. Actually, the production itself reminded me a lot of Hypocrisy. Like, it kind of had Peter Tägtgren sort of sound. The guitars kind of lost a little bit of that Swedish death metal sound, but my god, that tone was so monstrous. And the fact that they weren't just doubling guitars in the studio, they had 2 guitarists rocking back and forth and writing killer riffs. And Axelrod's drumming brought them to a totally different level. Dan Swano's a solid drummer. He's more of an in-the-pocket kind of groove guy. Axelrod has a lot of technique. The guy played in Witchery for a while, and they love going faster than shit. So he brought in a lot of blasts on this. And this album just rips. 4 years go by. Peter Tägtgren had to leave the band due to his commitments to Hypocrisy. And Dan Swano, unfortunately, left as well because he's a very busy man with a lot of different projects. And I think he had some musical differences with the direction they were going. So it took some time to live album with Michael Ackerfeld back, though he said he wasn't going to come back. And then, lo and behold, he comes back for an awesome EP, Unblessing the Purity.
Cast into the lake of fire. Get my blood. 1,000 deaths are wide. Storming, perseverance is God.
Now, this was also the first album to introduce Per Eriksson as their lead guitarist. This guy's played in a number of different bands, 21 Lucifers, Geno Crush Ferox. Neither one of these bands I'd heard of, but I know for a fact that he is a live member of Ghost now, so I'm sure the payday's pretty good.
The super heavy metal band Ghost. That
Totes heavy.
super heavy.
Totes Roots.
He won Metal Artist of the Year, and he's not.
Disagree. But Ackerfeld returned, and I was super happy about that because, man, I love his death growls, and I miss them. Hint, hint.
Hint, sir.
Now, I'll say this, and let me know if you guys agree or disagree with me. This EP and the following album that follows are easily some of Mike Ackerfeld's best death growls ever, period, recorded.
Agreed.
All right, continue.
This is all killer, no filler, in my opinion. This is number 3 on my list. In terms of EPs, this is one of my favorite ones to jam because all 4 tracks in this are disgusting.
Yep.
New levels of speed and ferocity. Mouth of Empty Praise might be one of my favorite Bloodbath songs of all time. There is a cool bridge in there with an awesome kind of crawling lead over it that I absolutely adore. And some disgusting breakdowns. They also brought back the Swedish tone, too, which, yay. What'd you guys think?
This was also my number 3. In fact, we just jammed this in the car today on the way to get food. So,
Psych up.
I love the mix. Again, to pick a favorite song off an EP is kind of rough since it's only 4 songs. But I mean, all of them are.
Blasting the Virgin Born.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I had this album at number 5. It was good. The drums were insane on this album. Absolutely insane. Love the intro of Weak Aside.
Yeah.
Mouth of Empty Praise. That breakdown of that song was balls heavy.
I get that riff stuck in my head all the time.
Hell yeah.
I put it at number 4 for me. Once again, kick ass all the way through. It might have been a little bit higher had it been longer. And I'll get into more of this in the next album when we talk about, but it almost feels like they could have just threw this on to the back end of the next album, and they ended up doing that later on in a reissue. But
So a year later, the same lineup returns to the studio and records a beast of an album, The Fathomless Mastery.
Constant suffering, heaving breath. Cross that twisted round his neck.
I absolutely love this album too. I had this as my number 3. One thing I will say about this is I feel like compared to all the other stuff before it, it had a little bit more of a typical song structure as far as how they constructed the tunes. Some people hated that. I'm okay with it. It still sounded good. Once again, I'll reiterate the fact that I think this is some of Akerfeldt's best growl vocal work, and songs like Hades Rising and Mock the Cross are just fucking killer metal songs that even if you didn't listen to the rest of the album, you'd have to at least check those out.
Slaughtering the Will to Live. That is one of my favorite ones on their killer breakdown. And once again, like his intonation, he sounds so fucking evil on this album. I love it.
The opening track, At the Behest of Their Death, the chorus in there is fucking killer, and the grit tone comes back for the recording of the album. This is also my number 1. I love this fucking album.
Number 1.
Yep.
100%.
I had this album at number 6. You know, it was heavy and evil. Wasn't bad. Wasn't lowest on my list. It just, honestly, I have another discrepancy with the album after this one, which I'm really excited to talk about as well, on why I even put that one above this one. Again, it was a good album. A lot of good songs. Drink from the Cup of Heresy.
Yes.
Hades Rising. Is it Iosis?
Isis?
However you pronounce it.
The breakdown in that song.
Badass riffs. Love the chug in that song. Cool. Like, there was some really cool leads on this album too, which was nice to hear.
Aaron did a really good job on this one. I mean, I think he got a little bit of time to shine on Unblessing, but this album was chock full of cool lead work. So, unfortunately, Akerfeldt left Bloodbath.
He left metal.
He left metal.
He left Bloodbath. He left metal.
We love you, but come back to metal.
Yes,
Maybe,
please.
please.
He started to.
He was getting there.
He has dipped his toes in the water, my friends.
But we have a new frontman. In steps Nick Holmes of Paradise Lost.
Old Nick.
Old Nick.
Old Nick.
Cool,
So
thank you.
I personally had this album at number 3, which is a little bit different than everybody else's rankings, but the album was doomy, sludgy, elements of punk, hardcore, stoner death, thrash, shred, groove. Man, what is there not to like about that? The song Beyond
It's not the
Cremation?
original mission of Bloodbath.
My
That's
Torture?
my gripe.
Yeah, but
And
I'm not going to say it's not good just because Mike's not there.
I don't think it's not good. I think it's a good album. I think all their albums are good. Nick Holmes has a different delivery going from a death doom band.
Sure.
Correct.
Slow, deliberate. It's creepier, I think, but it doesn't have the impact
Of
Akerfeldt.
what? Yeah, again,
Or even Tagdrin.
to me, I think it takes away from what Bloodbath. It takes away from the brutality of Bloodbath. I'm not a huge fan of the vocals on this album.
Me neither.
Like-
I think when he tried to be aggressive, it didn't come off as aggressive, and the clean vocals to me just, once again, not that it's bad that it's different, but it didn't just
The
gel.
music was good.
Yeah,
The vocals, I mean,
I thought the music was killer. Honestly, it was some of my favorite musically.
Chris Reifert did a guest spot on it.
Yep, Chris Radford from Autopsy. We all fucking love Autopsy. They're a lot of fun. And it definitely lends itself to the whole punk element there because, I mean, if you listen to Autopsy, they're littered with fucking punk all throughout that death metal. I mean, there are some songs, like Let the Stormborn Come to Me. I think that's a good opening track.
Famine of God's
Yes, that is a killer track.
My
And
Torture.
pretty good.
Awesome track.
It just, I mean, this also might suffer from a bit of a hangover, in my opinion, because I thought Fathomless was fucking brilliant. It's one of my favorite death metal albums, Jam.
Yeah, maybe no matter what they came out with, really, it just wasn't going to be received as well because...
Right, because it was nothing close to what the catalog before it was.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, yeah.
Big shoes.
Clown shoes.
So yeah, that was my number 7.
7 as well.
That was last on the list. Right?
That was my number 6. Not that it's bad.
No,
Right.
like I said, I
Right,
think all
again,
these albums are good.
Yeah.
Someone had to be last.
Someone-
And,
Damn it.
yep.
If you're not first, you're last. Goodness.
Again, I just can't bring myself to say that it's not, or that it's on the bottom just because of a different vocalist.
It really wasn't necessarily...
Musically, I think it was one of their best.
I mean, honestly, I think it's the closest one to Resurrection through Carnage. It feels like part 2 of that. And essentially, it feels like kind of like Retread, where I thought Fathomless and Unblessing, they were kind of pushing forward and expanding the sound a bit. This one kind of went back, which is cool too, but I kind of like the direction they were going in with Fathomless. So moving on 4 years in the future to 2018, we have The Arrow of Satan is Drawn. So Per Erickson leaves and moves on to play live and Ghost, in case you don't know, and probably get a really nice payday. And in comes Joaquin Carlson from Kraft. Now, it's kind of interesting that this is the only guy that's really been in there that his pedigree is more black metal than death metal. So there were some different elements on this album. There was some more atmosphere building. And he didn't stay very long. In fact, he left this year because mostly he was committed to Kraft and he didn't think he actually played well enough. But, you know, that's on him. This album I had at number 6. I think it's a little bit better than Grand Morbid Funeral.
I agree.
There's a little bit more expanding of their sound on this one. Like I said, I like the atmosphere building. Blood Aside is a favorite of mine. I love that one. It's just raw, heavy, disgusting. The production on this is extra heavy, too. Like,
Yes.
the bass
Yes.
is
Blood
just
Aside
nasty.
was a really
Blood
cool
Aside,
song, man. It was.
Levitator.
Yep.
It's another great track.
Only the dead survive.
A lot of cool leads. Sometimes the leads got a little bit repetitive, but they were pretty cool. And I definitely think the vocals this time around, I liked them a little bit better on this
Yes.
album than I did the previous.
They had some cool filters on them.
I had this album at number 7. It was my last ranked. Now, it was, it was heavy and brutal as fuck. No doubt about it. Just didn't hit me as hard and felt a little more generic compared to previous albums.
I liked it, but honestly, there was a lot of Bloodbath worship bands that had come out, like the band we're listening to right now, Wretched Fate, which honestly, I thought this was a better Bloodbath album than this one. And there was kind of a loss of fun on this release. Like, it didn't have like the ominous blood vomit, and even like
That's the genericness that I felt, man.
Nightmares Made Flesh had ridiculously fun songs, like it had Year of the Cadaver Race. It's a ridiculous song, but it's also a ridiculous, fun, kind of punky song. This album doesn't have as much of that. It's granted, it's very dark in its tone, and I like that, but I kind of missed some of those earlier elements. So it fell a little bit lower, but I am eager to hear whatever they come out with in the future because
sure.
I love fucking Bloodbath.
That's one thing we can all agree on here. We do love Bloodbath.
Yeah. This was actually really tough to rank. So this was also my number 6. I can't really throw in too much more that hasn't already been said, but I'll put it like this: it was more Bloodbath than Grand Morbid, but less Bloodbath than Nightmares.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's
So I mean,
succinct.
in the end, that's what it was. And again, the production was pretty fucking heavy, which was cool. But I mean, yeah.
Well, there you have it. Those are our opinions on the awesomeness of Bloodbath. We will definitely be getting back to discography rankings in the future. We have a big one coming up next. And I don't know, should we spoil it or...
Yeah, fuck it. Tell him. Tell him!
Because we're going to take on Slayer. We grew up with this band. We love them. We got to cover them. But that concludes this one. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe. Because we do shit like this how often?
All the time!
Thanks for watching, guys.
Later.
Catch you guys later.